Entrepreneurs aren't born, they are made through failures, breakthroughs, and relentless hustle. Welcome to the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, airing across 185 countries, 26 plus TV networks, 100 plus podcast stations. This is where visionaries share their unfiltered journeys, strategies, and game changing insights. Your success story starts here. This is more than just a show, it's a movement. Watch, learn, and elevate. Welcome everyone back to the Empower Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, and today I'm having an amazing guest. But before I introduce them to you, I want to make sure I let you know the agenda for today, right? We want to make sure we understand the importance of kids in an environment that is safe, that is prospering, that is growing. And for every parent or even everyone who has kids around them, it's important to nurture them subconsciously and consciously, both at the same time. In saying that, what we often forget is that when we are young, whatever we do is an action or reaction of what we see on the outside, right? So today's episode is going to be very important, not just for the sake of us as someone who's doing a show, but also for our kids, for our teens, for children who are growing up, right? In saying that, I want to introduce you to my guest here, right? Today on the Empower Entrepreneur, we are joined by Mark Papadas, the creator of the I Am for Kids 5-step identity process, a transformational framework helping families, educators, and youth leaders build identity at the deepest level. Mark's work addresses a growing crisis. Kids today are more anxious, pressured, and overwhelmed than ever before. But as he explains, they didn't create that pressure, they learned it. Through his programs, Mark helps families break cycles of stress and reactive patterns, replacing them with confidence, communication, and emotional intelligence. The results speak for themselves. In pilot classrooms, grades improved by nearly 40%, disciplinary actions dropped by over 50%, and communication dramatically improved. Today, we explore how identity shapes not just children, but entrepreneurs, families, and future. So in saying that, I want to introduce you to my guest, Mark, on the stage. Hi, Mark. How are you doing? Nice to have you on your show.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we dive into, the details of what we want to discuss, the transformational stuff that people really need to hear today about with this amazing message that you have in store for us, why don't you just go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
So thanks. So I'm known as the Be Great guy, and that's because of the work that I do, bringing personal development to kids. And my mission is to basically have the same impact on kids' emotional intelligence, personal development that the Muppets did for reading and for math. So often I've been described as kind of like a combination of Tony Robbins meets Charlie Brown.
Great. And can you just tell us a little bit about your journey when AM for Kids? Like, what is it about? How did you discover it, right? How you started all this?
Well, I had worked with so-called grown-ups for over a decade when I had my epiphany. And what wound up happening was my son was played youth sports at the time, and I was at a meeting of a bunch of the coaches after the season was over, and one of the coaches came over and started going off on this positive rant about my son, about how he was a leader and how the kids followed him, and he's coachable, all that kind of good stuff. And then I did something that we all do, but nobody ever admits to. I kind of checked out of the conversation, even though he was still talking. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, wouldn't it be great if everybody could have these types of conversations about their kids? It's like, what could I do about that? And I realized he was still talking. So I, shook it off and I re-engaged in the conversation. But I know that was the spark for what happened later that night, where I got home and I was in that stage of sleep before you hit REM, when it just came to me. It's like, dummy, you know this stuff. All you have to do is take what you're teaching to adults and put it into a format that will, engage and entertain kids, and you can literally change the world. And I call it my divine download. It literally was kind of like in the movies, where the light, comes shining through on me. and it just started to download into my head. And unlike those times when we've had those great ideas when we're in bed and we'll write them down in the morning and we wake up and you have no clue, you just remember there was something really great. I got up, I went downstairs and started writing. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm getting goosebumps kind of going back to that, re-experiencing that night all over again. And about 80% of what I am for kids is today came from that, what I call the divine download.
I think this message that we have is very important, not just for us, but parents, but the upcoming generation. And the face of any nation is derived by how they are nurtured, how they are taught, how they are learning new stuff, right, Mark? So, in saying that, according to you, when you say kids today are more anxious and overrun than ever, what are you seeing on the ground?
Basically what we're just saying is that I think the biggest difference today over past generations is that everything is magnified. That before, the quote unquote, like the reach that a kid had available to him or her was limited. Whereas now with social media and all the barrage of different types of things that they see in entertainment, etc., it's all magnified. And just like anything else that gets magnified, it seems bigger than it really is. And that's where the learning and the unlearning from the adults around them becomes so important.
In saying that, one of the key things that I also see is it's very important to, treat people a certain way when they start, right? Same goes for children. The way we treat, we get it back, right? But not just in way of what they say, but in way of what their actions are, right? So according to you, what role do families and environments play in shaping a child's identity? If you can go a bit deeper into that with an example that you have seen with your clients.
Absolutely. When it comes to me, the family is the biggest one. The environment can play a little bit, but the family will override that. And one of the things is that the kids, they model the behavior of the people that mean the most to them. And even sometimes if a parent is being self-deprecating, if they're talking about, oh man, I feel so fat today. Well, the kid doesn't think that. The kid doesn't know sarcasm yet. There's a lot of things where I make the joke about, they actually don't know the meaning of the word quit, for example. And that's because they literally haven't learned the word yet. So a lot of these behaviors and a lot of these thoughts that the kids have that are negative about themselves or about their surroundings are things that they've learned from the parents around them. A great example is a parent, usually it has to do with the mom, because the mom is usually the biggest nurturer in the family, where they would be talking with their friends and be saying something to the effect of, like, that's why I used it earlier, is that, oh man, I feel so fat today, or, I just don't feel like myself. I feel ugly, right? Well, to a child, their mother is the most beautiful, the most perfect person on earth. So if she's beautiful and perfect, I think she's beautiful and perfect. And she's saying that she's fat and ugly. What does that mean about me as the child? And those are usually where the biggest examples come, is little things like that. It's not always a big, impactful moment. It's just the consistent grains of sand that just keep building up that pile.
Yeah. And in saying that, Mark, we have to run into a quick break. But when we come back, guys, everyone, we will talk about identity creation versus positive thinking. And what Mark is doing is how he's bridging that gap and helping kids around the world. So I'll see everyone, and Mark will see everyone after this short break. See everyone. As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently, so that you don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high impact marketing and scroll stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision.
Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you.
So, hello everyone, welcome back to the Empower Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, and today I'm with an amazing guest, Mark, and we were discussing and we were taking a deeper dive into children, their mindset in the early age, right? So, in saying that, let's talk a bit more about I Am for Kids, right? And Mark, you're very clear that your work is not just about positive thinking or affirmations. What makes identity creation, according to you, very different? And why is it I Am for Kids 5-step identity process is in a halo?
So I'd say, to a certain extent, I'd say just look at the results, right? Their affirmations have been around. People have been using them for decades, and where has it gotten us? So the thing about that is that affirmations try to change what we think, right? Whereas identity creation, identity actually change what we believe about ourselves. And there's science about behind it with the neuroplasticity, what they say, the mind-body connection is identity actually becomes a part of who you are. It's not something that you say to try to make yourself feel better. So that's really the biggest difference. Is I say affirmations to me are not so much a waste of time, but they're a small piece of the entire package. And in terms of the process, it's a very simple process. I said it's the same 5 steps that I used to use with adults, obviously just taught in a completely different way. And the first step is that you write it. They're given a blank sheet of paper that just says I am on it and asked to complete that statement. And it doesn't matter whether you're a kid or adult, about 90% of the people have a hard time finishing that statement, which is sad. Okay. So the first step is to write it. The writing in that first one, you either get pretty much close to nothing. A lot of adults put their name and or their occupation, neither of which has anything to do with who they really are, their beliefs, their standards they hold for themselves and for others, etc. Kids usually answer with a one-word answer because that's how kids answer questions. And what we found in our pilot classrooms is that about half the time it was a negative trait or characteristic, with the 3 most popular answers being I am fat, I am stupid, or I am ugly. Okay. So that's where you get that truth, right? So you write it, then you revise it. So that's where we teach them how to make that identity something that they would want to be, that person they want to be. Third step is to believe it, where we literally use anchoring. We use the psychological process of anchoring to build those mind-body connections, those neuroplastic connections, to where it becomes a part of themselves. Step number 4 is to share it. It's not just enough to have it here. You have to put it out into the world. And what this does is it creates basically a mastermind, because it doesn't matter whether you're a kid or adult, you tend to congregate with people who are like you. So who would it be better to be congregating with? The people who have a positive identity or the people who don't? The people who want you to get into a gang or start doing drugs or anything like that. And then step number 5 is to live it, is to be that person every single day.
I love that because it's all about something that's within that's holding them back, or something within that's stopping them, right? So it's always important that the outside factors are taken care of as well as the inside influence that comes with the outside factors. And why is anchoring identity early so critical for confidence and emotional intelligence? Because a lot of kids I see are addicted to distraction. So how do you navigate back?
Well, that, like what you just said, is exactly right. It's so important the earlier we get to them, so that we can start to create those neuroplastic connections, so that becomes the default. Okay, so that when you have a default that you fall back on, that's what you're going to do in times of stress or strain. Is you always go back to what you know, you go back to what you've practiced, you go back to what you've done. So the kids who do this at a younger age, they become less addicted to that distraction, because it basically becomes boring to them. Okay, it's not part of who they actually are. And we all know, and if there's anybody who's watching this and there's somebody in the room, don't point to them because that would just be rude. We all know those people who have patterns that they do throughout their life. Like we all know somebody who starts a lot of different things, but never finishes any of them, right? Those different types of things. So the sooner we can get those positive patterns of behavior and of identity and of thought, the better off they're going to be for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely, Mark. And before we go into another break, I have one last question is what happens when children grow up without a strong identity foundation? What have you seen are things that are not good for them? And anyone who's watching it or their parents, that could be one reason. So could you share with us?
Absolutely. Anybody who doesn't grow up with a strong identity foundation, let's put it this way. We all have our I am statements. Thing of it is if we haven't given it any conscious thought ourselves, what becomes that default I was talking about a minute ago is what the loudest voices in our orbit say about us. So we become what the environment says. And if you haven't given that conscious thought, you're being directed by who knows. So the sooner that you can make conscious thought about it and decide for yourself who you are, the sooner you can start using the practice of the identity building system, and the sooner that you can be that person that you want to be and the person that the world needs you to be. And this is especially true for the parents. I sometimes say that our identity may be more important than the kids because they are going to follow our lead.
Exactly. And in saying that, we have to run into a quick break, Mark. But when we come back, we will share with you how Mark is helping, how to contact him, what his current programs and packages look like. So yeah, don't forget, we'll see you right after this quick break. Okay, it's going to be good. Okay.
As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently so that you don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high-impact marketing and scroll-stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision. Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you.
So welcome back to the Empower Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host, Rohit Soni, and I'll have my guest again, Mark, on the stage. So Mark, if you can take a deeper dive into a bit more about what you do and how you have been helping people through your content and through what you're promoting currently, and how your programs can help kids and their families, that would be great. So I'll give you the stage to share with you a bit more about you, right?
Oh, great. Thank you. So I Am for Kids is all about that identity building creation. Because to me, identity is the single most important thing that we all have, because everything else stems from that. Our behaviors that we do every day, the standards we hold ourselves to, the standards we hold others to. And the biggest problem with that is that most people, have never given it any conscious thought. So they're just kind of bouncing around like a pinball between the events that happen in their lives. And they're also asking some of the wrong questions in terms of, like, well, why does this always happen to me? But instead of, how can I change this? How can I get this better outcome? Because what they say is that the questions that you ask determine the quality of the answers that you get. So the way we're doing this right now is we're going right to the source. We're going right to kids, because I believe that every child is born with all of the traits and characteristics that they need to be successful throughout their entire life. And it's the stuff that they learn from the adults, like we've been discussing, that actually keeps them from getting there. The best example of that is when was the last time that you saw a kid quit trying to walk? right? It just doesn't happen. Like I said, they literally don't know the meaning of the word quit. They may fall down, they may cry a little bit, but what do? They wipe themselves off, and they get back up, and they just keep going until they succeed. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're able to let the kids grow into the person that they are destined to be by doing the things that are natural to them. So through our programs, we've got our what we call our I Am for Kids family pack. So if you go to iam4kids.com, you can find out about the family pack, which is where it's a 4-week program that we literally take the entire family through the identity building process. And we've had amazing results. And so the communication just winds up getting so much better. And the great thing about it is that it adapts to the age of the child. So if we're talking about a 5 or a 6-year-old or a 15 and 16-year-old, doesn't matter. They will adapt to their level of capability. And that's one of the if I do say so myself, part of the genius of the way that we designed the program. Then we also have our roundtable program, which is literally it's the community. It's the movement that we are building, where it's not just me. It's all of the families, everybody sharing best practices, bringing in outside, subject matter experts to teach us and train us, et cetera. And this is really where the power comes, because, like with Napoleon Hill, when he talks about the mastermind concept, is so much more comes from a group working on the same thing than just one individual. And then we've got what will be really done in the future is our I Am for Kids Academy, which is all those things that as adults we say, why didn't they teach us this in school? I'd be so much better off. And that's what we're going to be doing through the I Am for Kids Academy. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea, but there's much more details at the website.
Exactly. And you have seen powerful results in your pilot classes, right? So how do you think like those grades improved by 40% and disciplinary issues dropped by 50%? So what actually happened there?
So there's a few things, but number one, probably the biggest part of it is that when they have that identity, especially when we're talking about the behavioral issues, those disciplinary actions that needed to be done, is all the teacher needed to do was to remind them, are they being true to themselves? Are they being true to that identity? And a lot of times that was that pattern interrupt to where the kid was like, no, I'm not. Sorry about that. And then they would, calm down, whatever the issue happened to be. And I think the other part when it comes to the grades is now they know what the expectations are. We will always live up to the expectations that we have for ourselves. Part of that is that identity, right? If you believe that you are a certain type of a person, a certain level of achievement, you will get there. Also, those same expectations from the teacher come through, because we will always live up to or down to the expectations that people have for us. And I think those are the two biggest keys.
I love that part where you said, like the things about how it can be improved and what it looked like when you were already there using the exact methods that you have used, and they have got results, right? And how do families begin to experience change when they go through your process together? Like, what do they feel like, even the parents and everyone who see it?
It's hard to describe how I see it, but you can tell how they, like when they talk about how they experience it, is they literally feel different about themselves. And you can literally feel the tension that is often between different members of the family start to melt away. And then when that tension goes away, that kind of hardened facade, because we never want that tension to get into us, right? We always want to deflect it back. Once that tension is gone, that's when you can really get into that true communication. And I said, families just they get along better, they communicate better, they just become closer. And it's beautiful to see, because like I said, I'm not there necessarily when it happens, but when I see them afterwards, you can tell they're just more comfortable in their own skin.
I love that. Okay, in saying that, we got to run into a quick break again, Mark, and thanks all for sharing what you have shared. But when we come back, we'll have a quick rapid fire for you. Okay? I'm excited about it. Okay. So I'll see you everyone wrap this quick break.
As a coach or a consultant, your focus should be on transforming lives, not struggling to get clients. That's where my company Amplify Media comes in to help you not just scale your business, but to consistently give you the revenue that your business deserves. We actually build a done-for-you lead generation acquisition system that brings in clients consistently so that you don't have to worry about where the next client is coming in. You focus on the most important thing that is scaling your business and impacting your own coaching clients. From high-impact marketing and scroll-stopping content to expert funnel creation, we take your business from point A to point B with precision. Coaches and consultants worldwide trust the company. We have over 277 plus clients, case studies all around the world, help tons and tons of businesses scale. So your next level is waiting. Let's make your brand unforgettable and visit the website today. I would love to offer you a free strategy session to share with you how we can help scale your business. Thank you.
So hello everyone, welcome back to the Empowered Entrepreneur TV show. This is your host Rohit Soni, and this is our main event, but it's going to be exciting one, right? Because we are with Mark, and it has been a very deep and informative session, and very different from what we usually do, because we don't talk a lot about kids, their mindset, their journey, right? We usually talk about success stories, but today's session wasn't just about that. It was more about understanding human behavior at an early age, just so that it can avoid problems that come with it if we are not being nurtured the right way, right? And also helping with parents to learn a bit more about it, right? In a very nurturing manner. So in saying that, Mark, I have some quick rapid fire questions for you. So are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay. One mistake parents make that affects a child's identity.
They put themselves down.
One thing every child needs to hear more often.
That they're loved, not necessarily in those words, but they have to be told that they need to know they're loved always.
One habit families can start today.
I'll take this one from my book, and that's the be great. Is every time you leave an interaction with your child, tell them, say, be great, and then they have to respond with enthusiasm, I am.
Great. One sign a child is struggling with identity.
Generally speaking, it'll be their language. If you listen to what they're saying, they'll tell you.
One shift that creates immediate confidence.
Developing that identity, really deciding who you are.
One word that defines a strong identity.
Can I hyphenate it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say self-aware.
Okay, right. What does being an empowered entrepreneur mean to you?
To me, it means being true to yourself. And if you're going to be true to your business, you have to understand that your business will only grow to the amount that your identity of you as the leader allows it to.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, this has been a great episode. We got to learn a lot from you, right? And I'll drop all the links on how people can connect with your LinkedIn, your websites, and all the platforms you're on, just so that people can connect and learn from you. But before we go, do you have anything you want to share with us?
I would just say one of the things I would love to share is very briefly is about the TV show that we're developing, where it's real stories of real children who've gone through the school program and the impacts that they've made in their families, their communities, and sometimes beyond. So keep an eye out for that. And then always, whenever I leave any type of an interaction, I want to tell everybody to be great.
I love it. Thanks a lot, Mark, for being on the show. It has been a pleasure, and I'm pretty sure in our next season we'll see you again, okay? Sharing a bit about your new case studies and new transformation that you brought for the world, okay? So we really appreciate you for what you do, and you are an empowered entrepreneur. You're empowering other people too, and that's the biggest thing we can do as human beings. So thanks a lot, Mark, for being on the show. It has been a pleasure. Success isn't for the chosen few. It's for those who choose to show up, take action, and never back down. This is the Empower Entrepreneur, hosted by Rohit Soni, airing across 185 countries, 26 plus TV networks, and 100 plus podcast stations. You've heard the strategies, you've seen the mindset. Now it's time to execute. I'll see you next week, every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. Go, build, dominate. Until next time, stay empowered.